Well, we've picked up our luggage from Bari Airport and Dave's gone to get the hire car, and that's going to take us throughout our whole journey through southern Italy. I've no idea what he's got. To be honest, I'm not hopeful, and I could be travelling through Italy in a biscuit tin. But some of his other deals haven't been that great, so really it could be anything.
Oh yeah, we've got one.
Wow! Hey!
At last, my wish has come true, an open-topped car. It's not a Lamborghini, but it'll take us to some of the most beautiful and interesting places in the region, where we'll walk the trails, pathways and streets. In this film, I study anatomy. Check out sun worshippers in top resorts, discover dwellings with a difference, and yes, see some cats.
Dave and I are making a 1,500-kilometre boot-loose journey from beautiful Puglia at the very heel of Italy.
The Zeus suite is the large one. It's our spectacular wow effect.
It really is. Through the scenic and interesting Basilicata, the instep, to the wild, empty and surprising Calabria at the toe.
Every tourist that come in Calabria find lots of different things. The mountains, the beaches, history, culture, nature. Visiting Calabria, it's okay. With a guide, it's better.
And then from here we take a ferry to Sicily to make a round tour of this ancient and fascinating island.
This is mad, do you know that?
Yes.
When tourists arrive to the Etna and visit and arrive near the lava or the explosive activity, it's very amazing, it's a beautiful activity.
We begin our fifth visit to Italy, at the very east of the country, here at the fabulous resort of Otranto, which is perched at the very end of the boot heel on the Salento Peninsula on the Adriatic coast. To the north of here are some of the best sandy beaches and clear blue seas the country has to offer.
It's only 60 kilometres to the coast of Albania and just a bit further to the Greek islands. This ancient fortified port is popular with Mediterranean sailors and makes an interesting holiday destination. Dave and I have arrived in the first part of September, when the temperature is still nice and warm, but the crowds have gone. It's so pleasant to stroll down the narrow streets of the old town, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, one of many in our travels.
Formerly known as Hydrantum, this was Italy's main gateway to the Orient for over 1,000 years. It was Rome's leading port, and under the Byzantines and the Normans became a regional powerhouse. Because of this, it has a cruel and violent history, particularly when the Turks invaded.
They attacked the city in 1480, brutally murdering 800 of Otranto's citizens when they refused to be converted to the Islamic faith. The fortifications have been built and rebuilt over many centuries since the ancient Greeks first arrived. Then there were subsequent invasions and colonizations, not just here but all over southern Italy and Sicily. The castle was built by the Spaniards from Aragon.
Probably Otranto's biggest attraction is contained within its opulent Romanesque cathedral. Built by the Normans, yes, they did get this far south in the 11th century. After various facelifts inside, it's a forest of slender pillars and arches, but what people have really come to see is the amazing mosaic underfoot.
The vast, colourful spectacle occupies the whole of the nave. A presentation of heaven and hell, mixing images of a religious and classic origin with those from myth and superstition. It's a wonder that the mosaic has survived so long. The Turks used the cathedral as a stable during their terrible occupation. You must check the opening times though, as the cathedral is not always open when you'd like it to be. We've only just arrived and Dave is already taking pictures of his favourite Italian vehicle, the Api car.
I think we're going to go on one of those in Palermo.
Excellent.
Hope so, anyway.
I really fancy one of those. Okay, well, our tour begins. Our first stop is Lecce, which is about 45 kilometres away, and I think we should keep the top open.
Bye, Jamie.
I've decided to name this car after a budget wine I might have drunk in the 80s, Lambrini. It's cheap and it gets you there.
Well, actually, it wasn't that cheap, you know.
The Salento Peninsula we're crossing is quite flat. There's little to see across the open farmland. It's evening now, and Lecce's exquisite stonework glows in the setting sun. The ornate city as we see it today is the result of the Holy Roman Emperor Charles V, who chose Lecce to become the most important town in the south. Situated close to the trading ports of Otranto and Gallipoli, Lecce boomed, and dozens of churches, palaces and piazzas were built in the next century or two, many in the fashionable Baroque style.
It's fantastic, isn't it? So well designed.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. Every street you go down, it's fantastic. So gloriously extravagant is the town's Baroque creamy limestone. You either love it or you hate it.
I love it.
It's either grotesquely ugly or splendidly beautiful. With a history dating back 2,500 years, modern-day Lecce is the main town on Puglia's Salento Peninsula and a major draw for visitors to the area.
At the widest part of Via Umberto I stands the amazing Basilica di Santa Croce, the front of which seems to groan with the sheer weight of its stone carvings, painstakingly restored to perfection.
This is the most opulent of Lecce's unique Baroque style and is the finest of these facades in Italy. The level of detail is stunning, and so is the perfectionism of the craftsman, because it took 150 years to complete before it was opened for worship in 1695.
The interior is equally lavish, based on the Latin cross plan. It has no less than 17 altars. It's not far to what is considered the centre of the tourist town, Piazza Santoronzo.
In Roman times, the town was moved 3 kilometres to the north, and Emperor Hadrian spent considerable time and resources fortifying the town because he liked building walls, of course, and he also built a direct road to the coast.
The town's stature was assured with the construction of a 15,000-seater amphitheatre. It's the largest in Puglia and was uncovered as recently as 1901 when workmen were digging foundations for a new bank on the piazza. Only the lower part of the grandstand survives. There was much more above the present street level. Today, occasional events and performances are held here. Lecce's castle lies only a few streets away. Originally of Norman origin, Charles V ordered it to be reinforced and restructured in 1534 as a stronghold to defeat the Turkish invaders who were wreaking havoc on the coast. It's free entry, but there's sometimes a charge for an exhibition in the baronial halls. Night falls, and Dave and I copy the Italians and take a passeggiata, a stroll through the historic streets, before finding our hotel for the night. Next day we head north to the middle of the Puglia region, or the Murgia. We've come to the Valle d'Itria, a place of rolling green hills crisscrossed by a network of dry stone walls. The vineyards, orchards and lanes of this lovely part of Puglia make a wonderful rustic backdrop for some very scenic towns and villages. It's also the land of the little pointed Trullo houses, more of those in a moment. We don't have time on our tour to visit the popular places like Martina Franca and Ostuni, but we do drop in on the fascinating hilltop town of Locorotondo.
It's a circular place, and maybe if you have a drone, if you have a satellite, you can see that the map of Locorotondo is a circular one. And in Locorotondo you have the nucleus of the city that has maybe 500 years. It's white, perfect bright. You can reset your white by the nucleus of Locorotondo.
Yeah.
And Locorotondo has a story, and in the late 15th century, Locorotondo belonged to Venice, for example. They had several stories.
The town's listed as one of the most beautiful villages in Italy, and the historic labyrinth of white alleys and courtyards is a delight to explore. It's also the nucleus of a well-known wine-growing region, and the commune produces a superb white that can be made in a still or spumante style. Right, on we go. Just a few kilometres to the main tourist attraction of the valley, Alberobello, Trulli town. Hundreds of these little stone houses line the streets and hillside here.
It is all a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and at first glance it almost looks like something out of a Walt Disney or a Peter Jackson film, where you'd expect a gnome or an Italian hobbit to come out of one of the doors. It's no surprise that it is fixed firmly at the top of Puglia's tourist attractions.
Until now, and I'm an engineer, I'm studying this phenomenon, no one knows the real lifetime of Trullis. Maybe 1,400, maybe in the beginning of 13th century. And then it's a jigsaw. It's a jigsaw. But in Alberobello we can say that the medium age of Trulli is 200 years ago. We can say that, but the truth is far away.
Yeah. What are the reactions of the visitors to the town when they come?
Okay, we are all aliens. We are Italian aliens. Japanese imagine Alberobello as an alien country. There is a movie, Cobra Space Adventures. In the first 5 minutes, they presented to the world Alberobello as an alien planet. That this is the reaction. This is the it's an alien planet for them.
But it is so unique, isn't it? It's lovely, but it's got a real wow factor because it's so different. I think this is it. I've got the key from Alessandra, and this is our very own Trullo House. Wow. Oh gosh. So this is what one looks like inside. It looks, guessing, but it looks authentic in its design and everything. Wow.
We read about it.
Oh,
and now we're
gosh. Oh, look, and there's a little shrine there with the Trullo House. Trullo is the plural. This is great. It's like a TARDIS. I didn't think it would be quite so big. It's almost round, isn't it? It's not quite. The temperature in here is really nice.
Yeah, it's cool.
And there's only one window up there.
It's probably to catch the sun.
Now we have the kitchen. Oh, isn't that perfectly set in here? Oh gosh. Got a little hob.
Yeah, everything's
Gas
here, isn't
hob,
it?
yeah.
Gas
Fridge. Oh, look, Dave, look. The papa on the fridge.
Yeah.
How Italian is that? I'm really impressed.
We're going to have a good time here, I think.
What?
Sorry, I kicked the bucket there.
It's like a real little home from home, isn't it?
Yeah, and of course there's a bedroom.
Yeah. Oh, look at this. Oh, this is great.
Well, no windows, but seem to be enough light.
Oh, wait a minute, there's one up there.
Oh, yeah. And a ladder to get to the loft if we need to. I don't think we'll be sleeping up there, or I won't be.
It's a perfect holiday home. It really is. The only thing I need to know is where the loo is.
Looks like it's here.
And it's the only place left. Oh, yes. With its own little shower and everything. It's got everything. Fantastic.
Oh, look. Shower gel by Mantovani.
We've only been here a few minutes and we have a visitor.
Are you a Trulli cat?
I think she is.
Oh, a Trulli cat?
Yeah.
Just a young one. I think you've scored big time.
Yeah. It's kind of quite good, isn't it? It's got air conditioning, although it seems to be reasonably cool without being too cold.
Feels good, but maybe in the hot months.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You probably need it. And it's going to be a nice base for the next 5 nights.
Well, you are doing really well at the moment. We have an open top car, and now we have this.
Yeah.
It can only get better, Dave.
Yeah.
If you don't stay in one of your own, close by ours is Trulo Suuvrano. It's a small, living museum recreating Trullo life with a bakery, bedroom and a kitchen. Some of it was built in the early 17th century and it's Alberobello's only 2-floor version. We're on the Rione Aya Piccola, the quieter side of town, and Dave and I walk out to explore. Alberobello's fine basilica dominates Corso Vittorio Emanuele, the main street. Next is Piazza del Popolo, the main square of the newer part of town. From here on the church terrace is the best chance to take a photo, although you might have to queue. the lovely little Chiesa di Santa Lucia hardly gets a look from the visitors. Now we climb Riona Monte. Here is the biggest concentration of trulli in the whole district. 1,000 of these are packed on the hillside. If you've only got an hour or so on a tour, this is the place to come.
Rione Monte, you can see the best trullis are aesthetic. They were made for a touristic purpose, for making the best view of Alberobello and view of trullis.
This is a special place in Trulli town. It's the Chiesa San Antonio. It was designed to be a bridge between the old and the new, and it was built over 14 months between 1926 and 1927, apparently helped enormously by donations from American emigres wishing to preserve the integrity of their hometown.
In the 1960s, the church underwent modernisation, radically altering its original beauty. Thankfully, in 2004, works took place to restore its former appearance. The park opposite is a good place to cool off. It's nearly 30 degrees today.
Lucio, where's your favourite part of the town?
It's not a path, it's a street. Largo Martellotta is the main street that you can cross when you have to visit Rione Monte. It cuts Alberobello in two parts, but now it's very, very nice to visit. You can have a seat on limestone. You can stop to several food stops. You can see trullis everywhere. You can have shadow because you know the sun in several months is vertical from here. But you are as in your living room. Stay in Largo Martellotta. It's my best tip for you.
We've been talking to Lucio at Trulli Resort, a fabulous leisure complex on Monte Olimpo above the town. Dave and I take out the Lambrini for a short spin to make a return visit.
Lucio, when was the new Trulli Resort opened and what kind of visitors do you get?
If you take a photo of these trulli, they are perfectly different from the original trullis because actually they were established at the end of the 19th century. Then now is a brand new day and a brand new century for these trullis, but they have 1 century of life. We have several nationalities. England citizens, but we have Americans, we have Chinese, yes, Chinese is a new trend, Brazilians also, yes, Thailand, then we have Italians too, French, Spanish, but Americans, they are growing, Puglia is one of these paths for them. This area it's called Monte Olimpo. This is the upper part of Alberobello, and you know we can see everything. But we organize special dinners because we can see stars, especially in July and June also, and there is a special aura. A special halo effect in this group of trullis.
I'm itching to look inside.
The first one has a name, just a famous one, Zeus. Yes, you know that Olympus Mount, that everything is connected to Greeks. Then the Zeus suite is the large one.
Okay. Oh, wow. This.
Yes, yes. It's our spectacular wow effect.
It really is.
Yes, yes.
Fireplace there. I love the windows.
See, the windows are a part of 1 century ago, because they built these windows, tiny windows, to preserve the temperature inside.
Okay.
If you can visit these Trullis on August, the temperature inside is 25, 24
Which is
degrees.
lovely, isn't it?
No more.
Would that have been open originally?
There was a wooden floor, and maybe use that as a store.
Okay.
There are just 2 suites at Trulli Resort. The Zeus is the larger at 40 square metres, featuring a king-size bed, a stone bath, a splendid dual-glass shower with chromotherapy and an infrared sauna. The Hermes is their 30 square metre version. The owners claim both suites have attention to the smallest detail in an atmosphere of luxury and charm, enhanced by local craft objects, fabrics and high-quality accessories.
Did you have designers and architects come in and...
No, it's no. It's a technology of 300 or 400 years ago that no one knows this technology. And then it's artisanal work. You can see several different types of materials, because we have different types of limestone. If you see, for the roof, for the upper part, we have a thin one, and this is limestone of Mola. But for the base, limestone of Bari.
Surely it's a really good example of local people using what they had.
Yes, low technologies, but great results.
Yes.
And 3 or 4 centuries ago, they build up this without model for not paying taxes. Yes,
So they could take it down.
Yes, because they take it down because the executor didn't see the
Understand.
physical construction.
Yes.
And they didn't pay. Yes, this is a mantra for Italian stuff. Yes.
Well, we're off on a day trip to Castel Del Monte. It's going to be about an hour and a half's drive and should be a good day.
Yeah, I hope so. The forecast is really good, isn't it?
Yep.
We're travelling to the Gargano region in the north of Puglia, a natural land of olive trees and cattle farms. Our destination is a curious UNESCO-listed medieval castle, built by a Holy Roman Emperor, perched high above the surrounding countryside. The car park's at the bottom and there's a bus to the top.
There are various theories as to why Federico II built it here in 1240, or why it was built to such a peculiar design. No one of importance has ever lived here. There's no town or strategic crossroads to defend. As well as that, there's no moat or drawbridge. What was it all for?
Castel Del Monte is a castle built from Federico II. Yes, many are describing Frederick II as Leonardo da Vinci.
Oh.
Yes, because it was a king, also a scientist. And this in Castel Del Monte, you can see a very strange waved castle, because it has an octagon.
Oh.
Yes, it was not the best shape for a military castle.
Yeah.
But maybe several papers told us that he built up that octagon for celestial stuff, because he was an astronomer too.
A citadel, a hunting lodge, something astronomical, whatever the purpose, just looking at it you can't fail to be impressed by its size and solidarity. Both floors have 8 rooms, and an 8-sided courtyard occupies the castle's centre. With intricate vaulted ceilings and door entrances made from a strange mix of stone, it leads you to believe that it was meant to be a showpiece, not a military post. Well, I can guess why he built it here. There is a stunning 360 degrees panorama. In the 18th century, the castle's marble decoration and furnishings were looted by opportunists looking to improve their palace at the town of Caserta.
After having been abandoned for a considerable length of time, Castel Del Monte was purchased by the Italian state for the sum of 25,000 lire in 1876, which began the process of restoration in 1928. In 1996, UNESCO designated it a World Heritage Site, describing it as a unique masterpiece of medieval military architecture.
But we'll probably never know its true purpose. Well, after a fascinating gnome stay in Puglia, Dave and I are heading west to Basilicata, better known as the instep of Italy's boot shape. Our first stop is the extraordinary town of Matera. We leave the limestone-walled countryside and head into much emptier farmland. Perched on the edge of a deep limestone ravine, Matera's old town is unique. Its jumble of stone houses hugging the hill is magical.
The town's cave dwellings, or sassi, are the most extensive and complete troglodyte complex in the whole of the Mediterranean. The area was first occupied in the Paleolithic period and shows evidence of continuous human occupation through the millennia to the present day.
Crowning the summit of the old town is the elegant bell tower of the cathedral that we'll visit on our walk, which will take us down, then up, through the lanes and alleys of this fabulous historic place. The polished stone can make it a little slippery underfoot, especially if it were to rain. But it's not likely to today. The street at the bottom, Via Fiorentini, hosts some interesting places to visit. Gift shop owner and craftsman Eustachio Rizzi has spent decades recreating the unique architecture of Matera in miniature. So well made and charming, a sassy town in a sassy shop. Next is a cave house museum, one of several in the old town. A recorded commentary in several languages explains all.
Dear visitors, welcome to one of the most important Rupestrian sites from life in Matera in times gone by. This unique place, entitled Cheruna Volta, meaning once upon a time, uses furnishings and sculptures to portray and illustrate life in the home in Matera up until the end of the 60s. As you can see, the room is dug out of the calcareous rock. The only part which is built is the entrance where there is the door, which allowed a little air to circulate as well as the window. The door in this case was the only opening which let in light. The skilled craftsmen have created works of art which are represented by the unique sculptures in tuff that symbolize in part the crafts, trades and life in the Sassi of Matera. These works of art have been arranged inside the dwelling as they were in the past, where everyone set aside a small space for their domestic activities. In this typical dwelling, you can see 3 rooms. There is the kitchen area, the stall where there is the donkey and some farmyard animals, and the area where there is a double bed, a cradle for the baby, and a raised bed, as well as a small space that was used for the toilet. In that period, the houses didn't have sewers. It has taken the artists about 1 year to create these works of art, skillfully using their tools.
Well, we've found ourselves a cave pub.
It would be difficult not to, but most of them are hotels or residences.
Or churches.
Yeah.
But we struck lucky here.
We did. OK, it's another excuse to go inside a cave dwelling, but this friendly bar is on the tourist trail, very welcome on yet another hot day. Now it's onwards and upwards from Via Fiorentini. One of the lovely things about this town is the way you can just meander anywhere. There's no special route, there's no particular way you have to go, and it's not crowded. You're just on your own looking at amazing things. Dave and I have heard that a new James Bond movie is being filmed here this week, but we haven't seen a glimpse of Daniel Craig or any shooting today. Mel Gibson visited Matera too, whilst making The Passion of the Christ, but that was a while back. This UNESCO-listed site is quite affluent now, with thousands of visitors passing through every day. In fact, it's Basilicata's #1 tourist attraction. But it wasn't always so. In the early 20th century, this area was a byword for poverty. Until the 1950s, hundreds of families, often quite large, were still living in the cave houses. The squalor and the malaria-ridden conditions became a national scandal. And finally, the residents were moved by law to modern buildings on the plateau above. We've reached the top of the old town and can see more cave destinations to go inside. This includes a number of ancient churches which Matera is also famous for. The clean lines of the Romanesque 13th century cathedral are quite a contrast to the jumble of dwellings we've seen on our walking trail. But the elegant rose window above only hints at the lavish Baroque interior. We head back towards where we've parked the Lambrini and stop off at Piazza Vittorio Veneto in the new town. There's a way down to see more Sassi from here and more underground sites, like the Palombaro Lungo, a giant cistern which had supplied water to Materans for hundreds of years. Absolutely fascinating. We continue our journey through Basilicata. Our next destination is the Pollino National Park.
This is Italy's largest national park. It's 1,960 kilometres of wilderness that spans both the Basilicata and the Calabria regions. It's a land of extremes, from soaring snow-capped peaks to deep ravines and wind-blown plateaux.
Dave and I have stopped for a break at the hill town of Latronico. Whilst only a kilometre or so from the autostrada, it's a tightly knit commune dating back to the Middle Ages, although the name of the place has Greek connections. Many parts of this park are quite remote, with difficult roads to negotiate. The villages here have fiercely maintained their traditions and independence, none more so than the two Albanian settlements buried deep in the mountains around 30 kilometres away. We've left Basilicata and have crossed over into Calabria, but still in the Pollino National Park. Our destination is the mountain town of Linoborgo, where we're going to stay the night in a hotel. We're using a sat-nav that came with our rental car, and today at least it's behaved itself. But there again, there aren't many roads for it to get wrong here. We drop our bags in our room and get changed. It's early enough to see some of the town and take a short walking trail before our evening meal.
Such a grand little house.
Yeah.
Once.
Why on earth is it deserted now? Such a beautiful place. Yeah, it's gone.
No idea.
We've only strolled a couple of 100 yards, and proud villagers open their roadside chapel for us to see inside.
Dave and I have searched the internet for a suitable trail, and we found this one recommended by Paola Manuli. We don't have a lot of time on this trip, so this path seems to fit the bill. It promises some lovely landscape as it follows the gorge of the River Lao.
The stream below is a tributary of this fast-flowing mountain river, and alongside you can see wash houses, which have been sympathetically restored to become a feature of the town. Above is the Castello, dominating the entire Lao Valley. Now a ghost town, it was abandoned in 1982 when damaged beyond repair by a severe earthquake. It's still possible to visit by taking a path from Linoborgo, but not for us today.
I think this is the main street, and it's just getting narrower and narrower, so I don't know how many cars can get down here. We're heading for the main square.
And it's about 30 degrees, which is
Yeah, it's warm.
Today is a Saturday, and the commune is preparing their religious celebration for this evening in the church square. The town is also well known in the national park for whitewater rafting. The Lao Gorge is not far from here, and we can walk there.
The trail is quite young, established as recently as 2007, and was part of a larger trail that once led to the sea. After thorough research a few years ago, the local middle school here put up information boards to help visitors understand the environment better.
The current gets stronger. community have built this wooden belvedere as a shelter and picnic spot, and we have a better view of the amazing Italia Viaduct which spans the gorge. When it was opened in 1974, the 260-metre high bridge was the tallest in Europe and second highest in the world. Even today, with a bit of recent restoration, it still appears in the top 40. Now, what about those whitewater rafters? Well, although we can't access the gorge directly in the time we have, we've been donated some footage by Gianfranco Viani, who rode through only days after us.
Ecco il ponte! Se si va a sbriciolare quella zona dove stiamo. Avanti tutti, dai, tutti!
I don't think you would see me doing that, but Dave says he might one day. We return to the town, and already the procession is making their way to the church. It seems most of the population have joined in.
A great hotel, isn't it?
That's fantastic. Look at the views. Fabulous.
On we go, continuing our journey through Calabria towards Sicily. We have to find the mountain autostrada, then whiz along out of the national park and drop in at the city of Cosenza. After this, we'll discover the coast of the gods. We meet Simone, a top Calabrian tour guide.
Cosenza is a small town famous for its historical center that has a medieval appearance. Two are the most important monuments that you can visit in town. The castle, situated at the top of the hill called Pancrazio, and the cathedral, built during the 13th century. Both were built by Frederick II of Swabia, the great emperor, but Cosenza is not only medieval appearance, because in town you can visit also free museums, or for example the city center, where there is the famous MAB, Museo L'Aperto Bilotti, Open Space Museum. You can find lots of sculpture created by contemporary artists as De Chirico, Dali or Manzù.
Cosenza is one of the most ancient cities of Calabria. Uncrowded with tourists, the city has a charm of its own and has been selected to be an Italian city of art.
What can the visitors see in Calabria?
Why visit Calabria? Because Calabria is undiscovered. Every tourist that comes in Calabria finds lots of different things. The mountains, the beaches, history, culture, nature, foods, because it's important, the foods, especially in southern Italy. And Calabria is still one of the poorest regions of Italy. We could say lots of things about government, politics, but it's not opportune in this situation. It's full of tradition and arts that usually fill the body and the soul of the visitors and the tourists. You don't have to spend a lot of money to visit my region, to enjoy great foods, great dishes. So you can spend not so much money, and you can enjoy for a week or more days.
Can you tell us some of the history of Calabria?
Well, Calabria is famous especially for its Greek past, when my land and the other regions of South Italy became part of Great Greece, Magna Grecia or Megale Hellas. Then Calabria was defeated by the Romans, Byzantines, Normans, Swabians, Spanish as well, and every domination has left a mark on my land and the cities as well. And visiting Calabria, it's okay, with a guide it's better.
It's now an hour and a half's drive along the coast to reach one of Calabria's top resorts, Tropea. Not well known in the UK or the USA, Italians consider it better value for money to travel down here in the very south of the country.
Tropea is really, really nice, amazing for me. It's probably the most important tourist destination in Calabria because it's situated in the so-called coast of the gods, because it's related with the ancient mythologies. This part of Tiranian coast of Calabria, really, really stunning, overlooking the Aeolian Islands. So especially during the sunset, you can enjoy really, really beautiful landscape. You can swim in this blue sea, but you can also enjoy the historical center or the typical foods of the province of Vibo Valentia, as for example the famous red onion of Tropea or the famous nduja, our spreadable salami.
Tropea is on two levels, the beach below and the old town on the cliff above. The exquisite Isola, crowned with a beautiful church, gives this resort incredible appeal.
Santa Maria dell'Isola was built so long ago that the topography of the land around it has changed. When it was first erected, it was on a little island all by itself. But over the centuries, the silt has built in the water between the island and the mainland.
Santa Maria was a simple church in medieval times, but had an extensive makeover during the Renaissance. In 1905, an earthquake destroyed its facade, but thankfully it was restored again to the level of beauty we can see today.
It looks like the best views are from up there, Dave.
That'll be me then, yeah?
Yeah.
I don't know what Deborah's aversion to stairs is, but there you go.
It's height.
Oh, it's quite steep up here.
The water of the Tiranian Sea is so clear and inviting, many Italians and sun-seeking Germans drive south in camper vans or head for the town's assortment of hotels and B&Bs. Italians mostly holiday in July and August, when it is probably too hot for people like us. In May, June and September, Tropea, like other resorts in the south, is both cheaper and less crowded, while the weather remains nice and warm. So now to visit the historical centre, and the only way is up.
Do me wrong, husband.
You could easily spend hours wandering the enchanting maze of cobbled, pedestrian-only streets, lined with grand 17th and 18th century buildings. But its history goes back through Norman, Roman and Greek times. The main square here is named Piazza Ercole, better known to us as Hercules.
The resort has that lovely, timeless, faded feeling that is such a characteristic of sleepy southern Italian seaside towns. There aren't many specific tourist attractions, but the town is a maze of pretty lanes and palazzi, some of which are crumbling away, and little hidden squares that usually have restaurant tables.
Our next destination is going to be another lovely coastal resort.
Bear left, then go straight on.
But our sat-nav has decided we should go the long way.
Oh no.
Through countless small villages. It'll be dark soon and we're nowhere near.
There's a sat-nav.
But finally we arrive. With views of Sicily across the water, Sheila looks very inviting as the sun goes down. Dave parks the Lamborghini at our rather glamorous holiday apartment, and we take time to relax a little.
Well, we got here okay in the end, didn't we?
Yes.
Not that much help by a sat-nav, though. It was pretty bad, really, wasn't it?
It was really, because it lost its signal so many times. It sent us down cart tracks and olive groves and dead ends and precipitously up cliffs. That didn't help.
But, yeah, we've got a lot to look forward to anyway.
Oh, so much more.
Sheila originates from Greek mythology. It's the home of the six-headed monster Scylla, who guarded the narrow Strait of Messina here, along with Charybdis on the other side. Both creatures menaced Ulysses as he sailed through. According to the town's tourist information, the origins of the castle date back to Ulysses.
At various times, Castello Ruffo has been a fortress, a home, a lighthouse, a monastery and a youth hostel. From the castle there are fabulous views of Sicily, the Calabrian coast, and on a clear day, the Aeolian Islands.
It's open to the public for a small fee, and various parts of the old fortifications can be explored, some of which go back to the 5th century BC. Looking around the castle rock, though, we don't find the cave that Scylla the monster would have inhabited. This side below the rock is called Marina Grande, very much the haunt of holidaymakers. The more urban part of town is known as San Giorgio, spreading out along the plateau above. The water today looks exactly the same colour you might see in holiday brochures. Dave assures you he's not tinted it in any way.
Oh, we just missed that. That would have been nice to go to.
Around the other side of the rock is a really pleasant surprise, and in complete contrast to the familiar beach scenery we've just walked through.
This part is known as Chianalea, an ancient fisherman's settlement with an atmosphere all of its own. It's listed as one of the most beautiful villages in Italy, very pleasant and not too touristy.
Between the houses and hotels is a sculpture of a siren. A local artist has recreated Sheila's mythological Greek mermaid. She would lure passing sailors with her enchanting voice and music to wreck their ship onto the rocky shore. Dave's taking a chance here, but it's another hot day. There's only one lane to this charming village, and there's no shortage of bars and restaurants, almost everyone with a view of the harbour.
We've come about 900 kilometres so far. It makes a change to have a nice road surface for once.
Oh, that was close.
Yeah.
Well, there's one thing about being in Italy. It doesn't matter how bad a driver you are, there's always somebody worse than you. We've heard of a little town called Pentidatolo, right here at the very tip of the toe of Italy. In fact, it's known as a ghost town. Dave and I are taking our life in our hands on the coast road to find out more.
That is very odd.
It's such a weird shape. The rock formation behind the village is striking, to say the least. Nothing quite prepares you for the sight, eerie yet compelling to climb up and visit.
It's placed on a hill that looks like an hand with 5 fingers. That's the reason why this name that derives from the ancient Greek in the meaning of 5 fingers was abandoned after an earthquake that struck the southern part of Calabria in 1783. And after that year, little by little, the population abandoned the town and moving towards the coast.
In the 1840s, Edward Lear made a grand tour of the Italian peninsula and Sicily, keeping a journal and painting as he went.
The British author and artist clearly saw the hand back in 1847 and wrote, "The appearance of Pentidatolo is magical. Wild spires of stone shoot up into the air, barren and clearly defined, in the shape of a gigantic hand against the sky. And in the crevices and holes of this fearfully savage pyramid, the houses of Pentidatolo are wedged, while darkness and terror brood over all the abyss around this, the strangest of human abodes." I just think it's really sad. It's beautiful up here, and to have to abandon your home, that must be so hard.
On a notice board inside the village church, there's another chilling tale to be read.
In 1686, Baron Benevoli from a neighbouring town had his heart set on marrying Antionetta Alberti from Pentidatolo, who was the daughter of his arch-enemy. Not only was he in love with her, he thought that maybe a union between them would heal the feud.
However, her father and enemy, the Marquis Alberti, had recently died, and her brother Lorenzo assumed the title. Before long, he had arranged a marriage for Antonietta to the son of the Viceroy of Naples, Don Petrillo Cortez, much to the fury and indignation of the Baron Benevoli.
The Baron snapped, and on Easter night he and his band of armed men entered the castle and slaughtered the Alberti household, save for his heart's desire, whom he took away a few days later and married.
Looking around the restored church, it's clear visitors and nearby villagers come to worship here. In fact, the ghost town isn't so abandoned any longer. There's now a trust that runs an information centre for the region, a library and a cafe with a gift shop. A few of the ruined houses have been restored as dwellings, and much of the earthquake damage has been made safe for visitors.
Only in the 80s of the last century, Pentinatolo was discovered again by the tourists, by the tourism, and now is famous as ghost town. But to improve and to promote the town, every year in September is organized a short film festival in town.
The tapping and clanking is not from ghoulish apparitions, but from the lighting crew, come to set up the rig for next week. In the hotter months, the ghost town hosts notable musical events, as well as theatre, photography and cinema.
Every little helps. I have a bookmark.
Dave and I return to the Lambrini. Tomorrow we take the ferry to Sicily. We leave our apartment at Scilla and drive just a few kilometres to the port of Villa San Giovanni, situated on the narrowest point for the crossing to Messina in Sicily. Tickets at the ready, we queue up for the roll-on, roll-off ferry, which runs pretty much 24 hours every day. You might ask, why is there no bridge over this lovely stretch of blue water? It's not a new idea. The Romans and Normans considered it, and Napoleon inspired thoughts of a tunnel. From the 1960s to the 90s, serious plans were drawn up for the longest suspension bridge in the world. In 2008, Berlusconi vowed to kickstart the project. But earthquake risk and cost have always been an issue. It's also been thought that much of the funding would be diverted to certain criminal organisations.
It's just over 3 miles across the Straits of Messina, and it's not too expensive for a car like ours with 2 passengers. It does feel like we're starting a new adventure, and once we're across, we'll be heading in the direction of Palermo, Sicily's capital.
We arrive at Messina just 20 minutes later. We've filled up with petrol, and our first destination en route to the capital is going to be the resort of Cefalu on the rocky northern coast. Sicily is the largest island in the Mediterranean, very mountainous and surrounded by wonderful blue sea with charming resorts. Over the centuries, it's been a part of Greater Greece, known as Magna Graecia, a Roman province, a Byzantine stronghold, an Arab then Norman kingdom, a pawn for Spain and the Bourbons, and then ultimately a rather reluctant part of unified Italy. After an hour or so, Dave and I arrive at Cefalu. The town is known for beautiful sunsets, unpretentious charm, and a very appealing blend of ingredients for an Italian seaside holiday.
Sandy beaches, a picturesque historic town on a rocky headland, some high culture in the shape of a fine Norman church, decent transport links, Sicilian food and sunshine, all add up to make this town one of Italy's most attractive seaside destinations.
The streets of the historic Old Town come right down to line the beachfront, whilst the rugged mountains form a scenic backdrop. Holidaymakers from all over Europe flock here to sun themselves, relax in resort hotels, and stroll in the narrow cobbled streets. The public beach is right next to the Old Town. Branching off via Vittorio Emanuele, the main street, are some curved steps leading to a 16th century wash house below. fresh water was assured because the basins were, and still are, fed by a spring. We catch a glimpse of the cathedral or Duomo. The original long parallel street plan dates from Norman times in this part.
Away from the beach, Cefalu's great tourist attraction is the Duomo. Begun in 1131, this mighty church dominates the skyline of the historical centre. Its interior is decorated with lovely mosaics created by 12th century Byzantine artists.
Legend tells us that the Duomo was built by King Roger II of Sicily in the 12th century to fulfill a vow to God when his fleet was spared after a violent storm off Cefalu. More likely, the fortified building represented a show of his power over the growing dominance of the papacy on the island. The piazza below the Duomo is a good place to eat, drink and meet.
Chill here. All right.
Okay, so 6:15.
The castle ruins above the town are worth a visit. Originally Arab, then Norman strongholds, there are fine views from here, but it's quite a slog to climb up in the heat. So on we go towards Sicily's capital, Palermo, and find our apartment.
Well, we've arrived here in Santa Flavia. It's a suburb of Palermo, and the best thing about it is there's a railway station here, so we can go by train. It takes about a quarter of an hour. Now, I've driven an awful lot of miles so far in the country, and I deserve a rest, I think. Driving in Palermo particularly might be a bit scary for me.
There are 1,400 kilometres of Sicilian railway network covering 9 provinces of the island with stations in all main towns. But in some parts there are old trains in service with infrequent timetables resulting in slow journeys. Most visitors will choose a coach tour, but nevertheless, with careful planning, you could tour the island yourself on the train. As a novelty, you could reach Sicily by rail from the mainland, maybe from Rome, Milan or Naples. The rail coaches are still taken across by a dedicated ferry. Dave and I leave Palermo Centrale, one of many Mussolini-style edifices seen throughout Italy. Outside it's busy, noisy, grubby, smelly, but you can't ignore it. The pockmarked buildings and copious street art are a complete contrast to the magnificent mosaic interiors we are about to see.
Palermo bears the scars and echoes the glories of centuries of domination. It was only unified with the mainland in 1861, so it has a relatively recent made-in-Italy identity. But in 2018, it basked under the banner of Italian City of Culture.
Everywhere the Arab Norman architecture strikes you, this place is quite unique. Dave and I are starting at the ancient port of Palermo, La Cala, which is a marina for Mediterranean sailors these days. Before you plunge into the city, you can take a breather at Foro Italico, the seaside green space with a scenic path. The cruise port is just 1 kilometre away. Many of the city's tourist attractions are quite spread apart, and a bus or bike is an option. But we're walking the first part at least, into the centre of the historic old town, through the Porta Felice and down Corso Vittorio Emanuele. This is one of Palermo's main arterial streets, named for the first king after unification, like so many others in the country. Quattro Canti, the ornate crossroads with Via Maqueda, is considered the most beautiful junction in Palermo. The Byzantine architecture of 12th century Chiesa La Martorana is like nothing else. It was originally planned as a mosque, but was given a gaudy Baroque makeover when it became the place of worship for Benedictine nuns. Now on to the Municipal Hall and Piazza Pretoria. Dominating the square is the well over-the-top Fontana Pretoria.
This site is also known as Piazza Delevorgonia, the Square of Shame, for the semi-naked statues of nymphs, tritons and leaping river gods, mostly without veils, that adorn this magnificent circular fountain outside City Hall.
Designed by the Florentine sculptor Francesco Camilliani around 1555 for a lavish Tuscan villa, the city of Palermo bought it in 1573 and transported it here in order to outshine Messina's ornate fountain. I guess they won, hands down. We continue along Corso Vittorio Emanuele. Amongst the usual tourist trinkets, there is more than a nod to the film that was made almost 50 years ago, The Godfather. Whilst the spectre of organised crime still lingers here, things have changed dramatically in recent decades, thanks to the long-standing mayor of Palermo, a key figure in Sicily's anti-mafia fight back. Mafiosi have been locked up, corruption is reportedly down, and tourism is on the up. Travellers are increasingly flocking here, seduced not just by Palermo's vibrant street life and magnificent cultural draws, but by the tours that promise to lift the lid on Sicily's murky mafia connections and show off the various filming locations of Francis Ford Coppola's trilogy. You can find out more in the No Mafia Memorial Museum.
What you got there?
This is just a panini. It's a snack before we get a chance, we hope, on a tuk-tuk tour, which is an ape car. And they are just, for us, hair dryers on wheels, really. So we've got to go on one.
I've been waiting a whole week for this.
And your name is, sir?
My name is Dino.
Okay.
Welcome in Palermo.
My name is Debra. I'm from the UK.
It's a beautiful Deborah.
And we're off.
This is mad, do you know that?
Yes, definitely. Just wondering about the structural integrity of canvas.
Yeah, well, it looks all right to me.
I don't think it'll save us, though.
Where are you from, Deborah?
From England.
England.
Mm-hmm.
How many people in England?
Lots.
This year, 1 million.
Wow. I like the wind, the coolness.
Yes,
I have to say, it's very hot.
It must be 30
and it's nice.
degrees
Yeah,
at the moment,
it's
but
very nice.
This is looking good.
All the street.
Oh, yeah. We're going inside the Bronx, Dave, but the
right?
Palermo Bronx.
Okay.
So they're very manoeuvrable, aren't they? I guess they have to be. These streets are so narrow.
That's right, it's only like, I don't know, 5 foot wide.
Dino takes us into Alberobello, where the main market is held.
It's a market.
Yes, there's a big market in Palermo, big in Sicily.
Oh, wow! All the peppers there.
Grazie, Gioia.
Oh.
Benissimo.
Thank you.
Look the price. Look the price.
Yeah, oh, wow, look at those. Pomegranates.
Melograno, good for people.
Yes, healthy.
You could just reach out and grab something here, couldn't you?
No, say things like that. Oh, look at all the shoes, Dave.
Ciao ragazzi.
I think we just ran over a guy's toe there.
Oh, no, look at those cauliflowers and all the fish.
Do you know where we are then?
No idea. I don't care.
No, I don't know. Inside.
Oh.
This is church number 1 in Sud Italia, Baroque style.
Okay.
Baroque Sicilian. Oh, Mr. Debra.
Thank you. Look at this.
It turns out we've arrived at Kiesa Del Jesu, one of the most important Baroque churches in all of Sicily.
Oh my goodness, look at that.
That is amazing.
I've never seen anything like it. Never. That's incredible.
The Jesuits arrived in Palermo in 1549, and by the end of the century had built this elegant church, which was expanded in the forthcoming years. Whilst the exterior shows 16th century restraint, its transept, apses and dome burst with 17th century extravagance.
This is absolutely incredible. Even the churches in Venice weren't like this. Rome, I've never seen anything like this.
The dome suffered bomb damage in World War II, but with meticulous restoration, the walls and paintings have been restored to their former glory.
Incredible!
Beautiful.
Incredible.
Allora, io no problem time, Deborah. There's a look church 8 beautiful in the world. Cappella Palatina.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very nice. Come on.
Yes.
Come.
Yep. Okay.
The free massage, huh?
Yeah.
Free massage.
Free massage, yeah?
Yes.
It's all included in the price.
Yes.
This is Porta Nuova, the 16th century city gate, a triumphal arch depicting the Moors who were defeated by King Charles V of Sicily.
Ready? This is Norman's Palace, Cappella Palatina. Here, 80 beautiful in the world.
Dino's brought us to the magnificent royal palace.
Home to Sicily's regional parliament, this venerable old palace dates back to the 9th century, but it owes its current look to a Norman makeover when spectacular mosaics were added.
Set in a well-tended tropical parkland, visitors flock here in their thousands during high season. We're now in mid-September, and with less crowds, probably a good time to go. After the Normans conquered Sicily in 1072, just 6 years after they conquered England, they established Palermo as the capital of the new Kingdom of Sicily. The palace was chosen as the main residence for their royalty. Parts of the early 9th century building are still visible in the foundations and in the basements, where typical Arabian vaults are present. The three-tiered loggia is of Norman origin. But it's on the second floor where the main attraction lies, Cappella Palatina. Commissioned by King Roger II in 1132, this extraordinary chapel is perhaps the city's top tourist attraction. It's the royal chapel of the Norman kings of Sicily and took just 8 years to build. The mosaics and ceilings inside are absolutely stunning. Each one is inlaid with precious stones, giving the space a lustrous quality. The bulk of the mosaics represent scenes from the Old Testament, while some represent Palermo's pivotal role in the Crusades. There's an awful lot to take in.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Beautiful Cappella Palatina.
Yes.
Number 1.
Yes.
Fantastic.
The palm trees.
Well, mystery tour, where are we off to next?
I know, I've no idea.
Cathedral.
Oh, so close.
Just a couple of minutes' ride and we've arrived at Palermo's cathedral. Construction began in 1184 at the behest of Palermo's Archbishop Walter of the Mill, an Englishman who previously was tutor to his king William II. Walter had great power and unlimited funds at his disposal as he built on the site of a 9th century mosque. You can still see exotic interlacing designs that he commissioned.
A feast of geometric patterns, majolica cupolas and crenellations. This majestic building has suffered aesthetically from multiple reworkings over the centuries, but it still remains a prime example of Sicily's unique Arab-Norman architectural style.
Since then, the cathedral has been altered many times, notably the 3-arched portico in the 15th century. The interior, whilst impressive in scale, is quite plain compared with what we have just seen. But if you have time, you can go up onto the roof for a view of the city. Dino waits for us across the piazza.
Grazie.
Considering these were developed from an old farm cart, so they're doing very well actually.
They've done very well, yes. But this is a very nice livery, it's very nicely kept.
Yes. It's called a calesino, apparently.
Oh, okay. There's a space in the back for luggage.
Yeah. Do you remember in the Italian lakes we saw a couple who got married in one of these?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Now, the tuk-tuk tour is not cheap, and the price per hour soon rockets if you go inside places like we're doing. So if you take one of these taxis, keep an eye on your wristwatch with the knowledge that your driver will know exactly where all the ATMs are for extra cash should you go over.
We've got a drag start here, you watch. See who's first off the lights. Guess we
Wasn't
lost
us,
there.
yes.
All shops there.
Yes, but I can't get out.
Yeah, we're not stopping at the shops.
Oh, you said that with glee.
Rolex.
Oh, a Rolex.
It seems now we are on a whirlwind tour of the city. Palermo's neoclassical opera house, known as Teatro Massimo, took over 20 years to complete. It's the largest in Italy and second largest in Europe. Locals are proud to point out that the closing scenes of Francis Ford Coppola's Godfather 3 were filmed here.
beautiful, lovely dress. It's a special occasion.
It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
It's Antonio.
Look at this, look at this.
It's a jam.
Oh, Gioia.
Oh.
We've got a tuk-tuk jam.
For counting, this is 1, 2, 3, 4.
The four corners.
Yes, it's
Yes.
a whole tour.
Yes, fantastic.
Finish here. San
Yes,
Domenico.
yes, yes.
It's here, sent into Palermo.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Ah.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Deborah,
Fantastic.
beautiful Deborah.
Thanks. Thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Fantastic, yes. Okay, thank you, bye.
So, after an extended tour, Dino drops us off at Piazza San Domenico in the centre of town, which happens to be quite close to the street markets.
Bangkok, Mexico City, Marrakesh, Palermo. All the including gastronomes of the world know that Sicily's capital is right up there with the best. The only mystery is how it's not the obesity capital of the world, given how much noshing is going on.
Find a small restaurant in the back streets and discuss where we're going next on our tour of Sicily before catching the train to our apartment.
Well, it's time to move on and see some more of this amazing, exotic and enormous island. We're going to make the best of our time that we have left and see some of the best attractions.
So next it's 160 kilometres to our next destination, Agrigento and the Valley of the Temples.
This involves crossing the mountains of central Sicily to reach this UNESCO World Heritage Site on the southern coast. Firstly, its rugged scenery with fields following the contours. As we reach the highest point of the road, we start to see more agriculture, olives, grapes, and in particular wheat, grown to make pasta. In fact, there's been a spaghetti harvest. It takes us over 2 hours through more sparse hills to reach the town of Agrigento and our hotel for the night. Dave's done us proud again. This is a good choice, and it's quite close to the archaeological site. We drop our bags, jump back in the Lambrini, and motor down to the Valley of the Temples. We park, then take transport to buy tickets at the eastern entrance. From here, we'll begin our historic trail, which will lead us around 2 kilometres back to the car park.
This must be the most exciting and enthralling archaeological site in the Mediterranean. These ruins are the remains of an ancient city called Akragas and boast the best Doric temples outside of Greece.
In its day, Akragas was the 4th largest city in the known world, and the 1,300-hectare park only represents a fraction of the size of the original Greek plan. The stunning remains are set along the site of the original city wall, overlooking the sea. The first is the Tempio di Hera, or Juno, from the 5th century BC. Though partly destroyed by an earthquake in the Middle Ages, the colonnade remains intact, as does a long altar which was originally used to make sacrifices. Now, if you don't fancy the 2-kilometre walk, you can take the shuttle. Along the route are remains of the wall itself, and further down, a necropolis. Hewn out of the rock, you can see different types of early Christian sepulchres. These late Roman and Byzantine tombs lie in the same plot used by ancient Greeks. The haunting Roman statues placed here were excavated as recently as 2005. Conveniently situated on the trail is the park's cafe, close to the main attraction.
That is absolutely fabulous. It really is. Incredible sight.
It's what you see on all the covers of tourist books and brochures of Italy, the Tempio della Concordia.
The temple has survived almost entirely intact since it was first constructed in 430 BC. It was converted into a Christian basilica in the 6th century, and the main structure was reinforced to give it a better chance of surviving earthquakes.
In 1738, the temple was restored to its present form. Early Christian refurbishments were removed, and it was given the name it's now known by, Concordia, after the Roman goddess of harmony. It's not clear what the ancient Greeks called it.
The reason it has survived so well, whereas others haven't, is that the hard rock that it stands on is cushioned underneath by a soft layer of clay, which acts as a shock absorber during an earthquake.
The temple measures a gigantic 40 by 17 metres and 9 metres high. Further down the track is a garden with more remains and tombs.
The whole site is, of course, UNESCO listed and is Sicily's biggest tourist attraction, bringing over 600,000 visitors a year. The Archaeological Museum here is one of the finest in Italy and is well worth a visit.
The park building was the former home of Sir Alexander Hardcastle, who settled here in 1921 after serving as a captain in the British Army. He helped arrange finance for many archaeological projects and discoveries here. The ruins continue with the Temple of Ercole. 8 of the columns have been razed, and you can wander around the rest. In the western zone, many more columns and stones show just how important, grand and extensive the Magna Graecia city of Acragas was. Before we leave, a look at the remaining 4 columns of Tempio dei Dioscuri gives a lasting visual image of this amazing archaeological park. Dave and I cool off on our balcony and plan tomorrow's route. The Lambrini's got a lot of kilometres to travel today. We're following the Mediterranean coast for a bit, then heading inland to the gorgeous Baroque hill town of Ragusa. From here we travel down to Syracuse in the southern corner of Sicily. Our travel friend Miss Satnav is a bit vague as to where to park when we arrive at Ragusa. We learn to our cost after climbing dozens of steps that yes, it's probably best to park at the bottom, but get the bus up. The inviting old town is actually called Ragusa Ibla, as distinct from the pleasant but less visited upper town. In 1693, the old town collapsed after a severe earthquake, and so did every other settlement in the zone. The aristocracy at the time didn't leave, but rebuilt Ibla in the fashionable Baroque style, which gives it such charm today. At the end of the rocky ridge is the Giardino Ibleo public park, pride of the town and just a bit cooler on a day like today. Corso 25th of April is the main street here. Today there is a wedding in town and guests are making their way up to the Duomo, although there may be a few riding up on the Trenino, Dave's least favourite transport. Ibla's main street leads to a number of lanes containing many charms, from palazzi with elaborately sculpted balconies to views over the dramatic valleys below. Throughout the year, colourful festivals and events take place in the streets and piazzas. This unusual little Baroque building, Circolo di Conversazioni, was once the meeting place for the town's aristocrats.
There's also another reason to come here. You may have heard of or even seen Italian television's dramatisation of Inspector Montalbano. In Ragusa, or Vigata in the series, there are a good number of film locations like the Duomo, or even where the fictional detective liked to eat.
The popular trattoria here was renamed San Calogero for the series, and there are other places in town with Montalbano on the menu.
Well, I only asked for a sandwich and I've got a whole loaf. How's yours anyway?
This is buffalo mozzarella. Lovely.
Creamy, isn't it?
Mm.
Meanwhile, I'll attack this.
It's almost 4 o'clock. Let's visit Ibla's celebrated Duomo di San Giovanni Battista to watch an Italian wedding begin.
Abbiamo la moto. E per la sposa? Moto!
There are several other Baroque gems in the area like Modica and Noto, but we run out of time as we press on to beautiful Syracuse, once the capital of Magna Graecia. On the outskirts of Syracuse is the town's most important historical site and visitor attraction, Parco Archaeological della Neapolis. Once Dave's found his way past the souvenir shops to buy the tickets, we can enter the vast UNESCO World Heritage Site. This city was founded by the Greeks towards 3 millennia ago, but adopted by the Romans 1,000 years later. The first of the remains to see is the Roman amphitheatre from the 2nd century. Here they would hold gladiatorial combats and horse races. The Spaniards, when they invaded in the 1600s, used the site as a quarry and took away stone to build up fortifications nearer the coast. What's left, though, is a wonderfully evocative spot. Further down the park road is a vast sacrificial altar where you could slay up to 450 oxen at any one time, should you wish to do so. After this, you'll see a 23-metre high grotto called the Ear of Dionysius in an overgrown quarry garden. But what everyone has really come to see is just round the corner, the Teatro Greco. Breathtaking, to say the least, this amazing theatre could seat an audience of 16,000.
Syracuse, or as the Italians say, Syracuse's Greek theatre, is one of the largest and finest of its kind, cut directly into the rock. It's been modified and enlarged many times over the centuries and is still in use today. Greek plays are performed here in May and June of every year.
It was first built in the 5th century BC, rebuilt in the 3rd century BC, and renovated again in the Roman period. A typical characteristic of Greek theatres is the celebration of a panoramic view in its layout, and this one is no exception. We can just about make out today's destination on the coast of Syracuse.
Bear left, then go straight on.
Where's it taken us now?
After 3 laps of the old town, we find our accommodation.
This is the doorway to our apartment. It's a bit small, but it goes into a courtyard, and our apartment is upstairs. Got to mind my head here. It's quite modern. In fact, it's very modern. This is our room. Here she is. What do you think?
Feels good. It's really, really nice, and it's right in the centre of the town. It's right on the main street. It's perfect. Absolutely, really well located.
We're staying just one night here, but wish it was more. There's plenty left to see in Syracuse. The ancient city was first established in 734 BC, when Corinthian colonists came by sea, landed here, and began to build perhaps the biggest city ever known at that time. Today, across the water from the mainland, is the city's most beautiful corner, a casually chic, eclectic marvel with an ever-growing legion of visitors and admirers. You have a choice of bridges to cross from the marina.
The island of Ortygia is the historical heart of Syracuse. There aren't many archaeological sites exposed to view here, largely because the island has been heavily built up since Greek times. I think perhaps the charm lies in wandering down the narrow medieval lanes and, of course, the water.
Behind me are the remains of the Temple of Apollo, pretty much the only exposed Greek ruins you can see now. Even these had been built over with a barracks at one time. It was only between 1938 and 1942, when buildings were demolished and cleared away, the temple was exposed for all to see. Dave's Apicar spotting again. Ortygia is a labyrinth of atmospheric alleyways and refined piazzas and palazzi with all the Baroque features on show. Corso Matteotti has high-end shopping, which I'm not allowed to stop for. My cameraman husband insists on getting the shots, but sooner or later, mutiny might have to take place. This is Piazza Archimede, graced by the beautiful Fountain of Diana, placed here as recently as 1906. We enter Piazza del Duomo, a masterpiece of Baroque town planning. You'd hardly know it sits on top of what was once an ancient acropolis.
Syracuse's Duomo is the city's most celebrated site. The building records the many histories of the town. It was once the Greek temple to Athena, with a giant golden statue of the goddess on the roof. The massive Doric columns are still visible, slightly wonky with earthquake damage.
Whilst keeping up with the times and changes of religion, a Greek temple, church, mosque, and then a church again, the site has remained a place of worship for a good 2.5 millennia. We continue to explore.
So here's a colourful map of Sicily. There's Messina, where we started. We came all along through Cefalu to Palermo. Then we came down to Agrigento, over the mountains, Ragusa, to Syracuse, and then we will go up to Catania and Mount Etna, so not so far to go.
And then we fly home.
In the romantically crumbling back streets, you can find wonderful little cafes with delicious homemade Sicilian food. If you look around long enough, there's even a beach to sit on. Covering the entire tip of the island is the Maniace Castle. From ancient times, it's always been a military stronghold for the port of Syracuse. The fortress was rebuilt by Frederick II in the 13th century, but given its present appearance by Charles V. Until recently, the castle was a military site and off limits, but it's now open to visitors in the morning.
It's 120 kilometres to our final destination, the historic popular resort of Taormina. We're passing by Sicily's second largest city, Catania, sprawling down the slopes of the brooding volcano Mount Etna.
We've booked a special personal tour of this spectacular active volcano, which will be at the end of our time in southern Italy. It's autostrada all the way, the Lambrinis making good progress, and in an hour and a half we arrive at perhaps the island's most exclusive Hilltown resort. Popular with holidaying high rollers, Taormina is tailored for those wanting a taste of Sicily's dolce vita. Situated in Mazzaro, the lower part of the town, our top-of-the-range B&B awaits.
One step. This is our room. Very ornate. Number 1. Oh boy. What have we got here? Amazing. I don't believe it.
This was a lucky find. All our accommodation has been found on booking.com, and this one is probably best of the lot. Our hosts have made us very welcome, and to top it all, there's a rooftop sun terrace included, overlooking the bay of Mazzaro. Immediately below us is a fine but pebbly beach located in this beautiful and enchanting bay. From here you can take boat trips to explore the caves around the shore or rent an umbrella and sunbed for the day from the Lido. There's a good fish restaurant overlooking the water here and some first-class hotels too. If this wasn't enough in the lower town, there's another bay right next door. This has a public beach and bar and is another scenic place to relax. This time a small island graces the view, Isola Bella.
It's known as the Pearl of the Ionian Sea and was once a private property owned by Florence Trevelyan, a gardener and conservationist from the north of England. After she died, it remained in private hands until 1990. Up for sale, the region of Sicily soon acquired it and designated it a protected natural site.
The nature reserve is connected to the beach with a narrow causeway and is home to several types of seabirds and a number of interesting lizard species. In her time, Florence adapted her little piece of paradise, built grottos and follies and turned it into a kind of pleasure garden. For Dave and I, it's a place to relax in Taormina and take time to reflect on how far we've travelled. Across the water, we can make out mainland Italy, the tip of the toe around 25 kilometres away, probably not so far from the ghost town we visited last week. It certainly is a beautiful stretch of coastline here. After a good rest, we decide to take the cable car, which is right next to where we are staying, and explore the famous hill town of Taormina.
Right. You love heights, don't you?
I shan't be looking.
Well, it's about to go.
Yes.
Oh, it's bumpy. We're off.
I know, I'm not looking. Lovely sky up there.
Yeah.
Really nice clouds. Oh, there's a castle up there.
Of course, we could have walked up, look. It's a bit sweaty for walking today, isn't it?
And a bit steep as well.
Look out.
Oh, I hate those bits.
Fantastic view over there. Wow.
I'll take your word for it.
Somebody in a pool. Oh, it's a football pitch.
It must be off-putting if there's a game on.
And here we are.
There's not a lot of room up here and transport can be tedious. Even catching a shuttle bus from the overflowing car parks can take quite a while. Although it's well into September now, the narrow main street, Corso Umberto, is packed with international visitors. It runs through the historic centre between the two medieval gateways. This one is Porta Messina at the northeast end.
Founded in the 4th century BC, the town prospered under the Greek ruler Gelon II, and again later on under the Romans, but it fell into obscurity when it was conquered by the Normans in 1087.
Porta Catania at the southwest is sited under the 12th century clock tower in the oldest part of the town. Standing here is the unfussy 13th century Duomo, which somehow survived 15th century Renaissance remodelling that many other places in town were subjected to. Every good hill town has to have a fortress. If you look up, you'll see Taormina's Saracen Castle with superb views apparently. Mind you, it's pretty good from the terrace here too. The size and elegance of the town and many of its buildings are evidence of Taormina's increasing prosperity over the centuries. By the end of the 1800s, this picturesque and ancient town was already on the tourist trail, with famous visitors including Oscar Wilde, Richard Wagner and Tsar Nicholas II. Palazzo Corvaggia is arguably the oldest building left in town, and it houses the local tourism office. But to see Taormina's main attraction, you have to stroll up Via Teatro Greco. No surprises as to what's in store at the end.
Built in the 3rd century BC, it's considered to be the most dramatically situated Greek theatre in the world and is second largest in Sicily to the one we saw in Syracuse. In the summer months, they stage art and film festivals, and it's very much a focal point for the town's entertainment programme.
It's an interesting mix of opera, ballet, jazz, symphony orchestra, rock and pop. One week you could see the Barber of Seville or Don Giovanni, the next could be Sting or Noel Gallagher. It's calculated that 100,000 cubic metres of rock were manually removed to create this masterpiece. During Roman occupation, it was transformed with columns and statues. Below the seating area, you can find a fine mosaic floor that has been uncovered and restored. But it's the natural setting that attracts tourists here the most. In true Greek tradition, it possesses the most dramatic backdrop for a theatre anywhere in the world. Stunning views of the exquisite coastline and Mount Etna are a feast for your eyes and something to remember for years to come. But there's something else in town that makes your visit, well, complete.
Look, it's no good, Dave. I've tried to resist it, but the shops are calling me. I'm going to have to take a break.
Oh no, surely not.
Look, you just don't understand the shoes and handbag thing. You take over and I'll see you later.
Well, that's told me.
Sorry. Well, there was a sale on, and it was the voices that told me to go shopping. But I bought you something.
Godfather bottle opener, just what I wanted.
Well, this mutinous little spree has left a dent in my budget, and it's also growing late in the afternoon. Dave has cheered up after waiting in a bar, so we decide to find a restaurant here, of which there are many. There's a huge choice of menus to suit all pockets. We're nearing the end of our time on Sicily and start thinking about a few souvenirs. A Godfather t-shirt hanging near the doorway inspires our outing tomorrow. We're making a little excursion today to a lesser-known village not too far from Taormina. It's buried in the hills north of the town and was once involved in that now familiar Hollywood blockbuster. However, it's proving a bit of a challenge for the Lambrini's little engine, and Dave for that matter.
Oh! That'll look good on the sat-nav. Bus!
No.
Bus
coming.
Slow.
Oh, there's wide enough here. 2 buses.
We've arrived unharmed at the picturesque village of Savoca, the one Francis Ford Coppola picked for his 1972 film The Godfather. It was chosen to represent the pre-war hill town of Corleone, some distance from here, which has real mafia history. Although much of the original Godfather is based in New York, the scenes where Michael hides back in Sicily were shot here along with a couple of other locations nearby. He falls in love with Apollonia Vitelli, and the marriage scene took place at the 14th century church of Santa Lucia. Not surprisingly, the little medieval village, which appears virtually unchanged since the film was shot, has many visitors and coach parties passing through. You can see the remains of Savoca's castle here, and there's a village museum at the top of the hill to find out more about this captivating place. On a hot day, I'm sure Dave would recommend a ride up on the Ape car. But your visit isn't complete without calling at the famous Bar Vitelli in the centre of town. In the film, this was owned and run by Apollonia's father. Now partly hidden behind shady shrubs, the cafe-restaurant still looks exactly like it did during filming, and probably a long time before that. Inside this 18th century building, there's a small gallery of memorabilia on the walls, which include images taken during filming, newspaper cuttings, and items from historic village life.
And I've got a Michael, very appropriate. It's cheese, ham, basil and bread.
Pointing the camera south from Savoca, we get a very clear shot of Mount Etna, which bodes well for our special personal tour tomorrow. Our guide will take us up to almost 3,000 metres on this amazing active volcano. It's 8 o'clock in the morning, and our guide for the day, Gianpaolo, picks us up from Taormina. It takes around an hour to drive up through the towns, villages and lower slopes of the gigantic volcano. Because we're filming, Dave and I have arranged a personal tour. The host company, Go Etna, have called this the Etna Emotion 3000 Tour. You can book one like it and join a larger group.
Every day is my first day. It's because so every day it changes. This volcano look always different light, different view, different clouds, and look like you start again everything every morning. Everything you see here is now or never. Next will be a different one.
Yes.
This is the highest volcano in Europe and one of the most active in the world. Its impressive size, more than 3,327 metres high, with an average basal diameter of 40 kilometres, overlooks the whole region. Its spectacular eruptions and its fiery lava flows have always aroused the interest of scientists, along with the curiosity of visitors from all over the world. Since 2013, Mount Etna has been placed in the UNESCO World Heritage List for its geological peculiarities of planetary relevance. We arrive at Rifugio Sapienza. Above the clouds, it's the main parking and assembly area for volcano tours. There is another point on the northern side that's mainly for trekking tours. The actual summit of Etna is closed at the time of filming due to recent eruptions there this month.
Gianpaolo, what are we going to do today?
So first we move by cable car. It's the highest point you can reach by car. Here you park, and then you buy a ticket that lets you climb to 2,600 meters, 8,000 feet, where you get a bus, the Unimog, that is a truck that moves to close 3,000 meters, 2,900 meters. Limit where next is forbidden to move without an alpine guide. You have to move always with a volcanologist because the area is quite complicated for the activities, for the weather condition. Francesco is the alpine guide that will follow us reaching. So now we move by cable car to 2600 meters. We are going to visit the area close to the summit of Etna. It's an area where you can see the summit craters, where there are two craters appeared in 2002 during the one defined as the perfect eruption, still considered one of the biggest events had by Etna in the last century. There was a flat land that now is different. A long queue, so it's better also we stay close.
Yeah.
It's crazy for some people, for us it's usual.
Weather conditions are extremely variable, and it's very windy today on the mountain. In fact, the cable car had stopped running until just before we arrived, so there's a bit of a scramble.
Close to us. Yeah.
We're in. That was a real scramble, that was.
More people.
So now we leave the cable car station to reach the 2600 meters. But when there are clear days, also from this side you can see the island of Malta.
Oh, really? I didn't realise it was so close.
Just 200 kilometers from the southern coast.
We now today arrive at 2,800 meters, and you can see the main crater formed in 2002 eruption, 27 October 2002, and you can see the lava just here. 1,900 meters, because the lava come down just here and destroyed the cable car and the souvenir shop, the restaurant, and the pass at the side, the hotel and the Sapienza Rifugio. Arrive from the parking place 4 kilometers and then stop. And then lasted 3 months, the activity, and then finish. 2001-2002 eruption is the biggest activity from Etna, because in the same time 2 different activities started in the same size, in the 2 different sites, Etna North and Etna South.
Were they competing against each other, the activity?
It depends, because before the eruption usually they are the earthquake in 2 hours or 3 hours before, but it depends the different activity. In the secondary cone, usually they are the earthquake, but to the top it's possible surprise the activity. Okay.
In the winter, Etna's barren landscape is turned white with snow. Skiing and ski mountaineering become the top attractions on these slopes, with apparently no danger of an avalanche.
It's amazing. It's like nowhere else.
It's another world, isn't it?
What are the marks here?
Yeah, come down with the bicycle.
Bicycle.
It's the volcanic dust.
The wind's got up now.
It's starting to make it sway.
You're not keen on that, are you?
No. But bigger.
Almost there. So it's going to be a bit cooler up there.
And windy.
Yeah. You're never short of food here.
Actually, we are 2,600 meters, and we are going to get the bus to reach the 2002 crater. So we see how fast will move the wind, reaching 2,900 meters.
Is the special track and used only in the Etna and sometimes used in Vesuvio, but it's a 4-4, okay, because used in the winter when there are the snow. You can see the crater formed in 2001 eruption, just here.
You got steady shot for a volcano.
I've never been on such a bumpy bus.
2017.
17.
Not all eruptions come from the summit by any means. In recent years, some spectacular craters have appeared down here, a kilometre or two away. Francesco and Giampaolo lead us to explore. Although the largest crater up there is brooding, the most recent activity is from a smaller cone further away.
And this is the recent lava from 2017, and started the activity from the southeast crater, and lasted the activity 1 month continuously. And you can see the different lava, okay? Because this is red, because it contain silica and iron, okay? Or the other one is black, because contain the other mineral.
It makes a noise.
Yeah.
It sounds like metal.
Yeah, it's the metal. Yeah, it's the same because it contain iron. As of this. All the different lava.
Really crunchy, isn't it?
Are you able to predict an eruption?
It's very difficult to predict the eruption, but sometimes the volcanologists, they are the seismographic instrument, the other instrument. But it's possible to predict when the magma come inside the pipe, because creating the big pressure, and then formed the fracture at the side of the volcano. In the last activity, not possible to predict because started the activity escaped the big activity in 12 September, but not predict, surprise. The big block, the big rock escaped to the top, but not possible to predict. And now we go to the crater because across the activity from 2002 eruption, and around of this crater, and you can see the biggest crater formed by the fracture, and lasted 3 months continuously. The lava come down from here 3, 4, 5 kilometers from the crater, and arrive to the parking place near the Rifugio Sapienza.
Well, 40-mile-an-hour winds, we're surviving. But boy, it's fresh up here.
I didn't realise there were so many people on a volcano, on an active volcano.
We are here inside the crater formed from 2002 eruption, and you can see the biggest crater because the fracture started at the side, the summit area, and for 1 kilometer over this fracture formed 6 craters, and the activity lasted 3 months with the pyroclastic material because it's 2 different activities. The explosive activity started here, and at the side started the lava, the liquid lava, the fluid lava, and formed the other fracture. The magma come out and formed the channel of the lava flow or the tunnel, the different activity. Look inside, and the other mineral and silica contain more mineral.
This is the soil of this volcano.
Yeah, blue. This is the gas.
It's the same type. You can handle better.
Prettier.
No, I know. no, but it's just for.
What can we see here?
And we are here near the fracture from a 2002 eruption. And 3 years ago, from this fracture, escaped steam because the crater, when finished the activity, remained for a long time.
Dave, it's erupting.
Yeah.
Look.
Oh, we're filming.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a serious reminder we're standing on an active volcano.
After that fantastic experience, we're now heading back for the buses to head back down.
Of course, if you want to walk back down, this is the way. Back to 2,600 metres.
Oh, it's not so windy down here. It's better. Francesco, you must love this mountain.
Yeah, because I work in the mountain to 25 years, okay?
Yeah.
And it's a special volcano because there are more activity to the top of the secondary cone. It's beautiful, it's amazing when the tourists arrive to the Etna and visit and arrive near the lava or the explosive activity. It's very amazing, it's a beautiful activity.
You don't expect to find much wildlife up here, but ladybirds apparently survive the mountain climate and feed on small insects carried on the wind from below.
What's that like?
Oh, that's good. Very nice.
I wish I'd clean the windows. Here we go. Oh, wow.
Like clouds.
Into the clouds.
I'm not good with heights.
And the vapor trail up there.
September 12th, quando siamo saliti.
The last activity, yeah.
Yeah, last week.
We were climbing close to the craters and
Wow.
we were surprised. And was closed also the area of the summit vent.
Yeah.
Look, last night.
Last night?
Yes.
Last night at the
Yeah.
top.
Ieri sei salito di nuovo?
The little volcanic cone inside the central crater. There the little lava flow come down.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is what you saw, but nighttime is nicer. It's red.
It's very beautiful. Amazing.
So all this was flat once, and now it's
That I can't get my head around that.
no.
The 40 hill down where the most destructive crater of Etna.
In 2002, the lava arrived just here, at the side of the people.
That was fantastic.
What an experience.
I believe we're going to be fed next, is that
I
right?
think we deserve something to eat.
As part of the Go Etna tour, we are treated to a traditional Sicilian lunch at the Rifugio Sapienza restaurant.
My goodness.
This is the starter.
Oh.
Zucchini and onion with oil. This is the caponata. Are all vegetables. People think that is light, but it's one of the heaviest food that you have in Sicily. Are all vegetables fried once, and then fried together. You need 1 day to make this caponata.
Wow.
These are pepper with bread, raw ham with oil and lemon. These are fried pumpkin flowers with anchovy and cheese.
Wow.
And this is an omelette with potatoes and onion.
Fantastic.
And 2 different types of cheese with a little bit salt. Yeah. We shouldn't have had breakfast.
I don't think I'm going to.
You can skip this.
Okay, that was just the first course.
So just when you thought you'd had enough,
It's a really big plate.
get stuck in there. You might never need a supper, that's for sure. And finally, dessert.
It was a challenge.
Do you eat like this all the time?
No, not all the time, but usually Sunday with family. You miss the second dish. So usually next to the pasta there's the second dish.
There's the second dish.
There's another course that we
Yeah,
missed.
they've missed
we
that
missed
out.
completely.
So, it's all for me then, is it?
Yes.
I'll try one. Beautiful. It's custard and pillow pastry.
No, we have to be back with the same number.
Yes.
Our descent is through the clouds which are formed during the day. The last part of the tour takes in a visit to a curious lava cave, of which there are many in the slopes of Mount Etna.
It's what the best dressed woman is wearing on a volcano.
It's also hard to move next after lunch.
Yes. I got it.
Yes, no, it's easier. No, it's
Yeah, next
lower.
one.
Okay, next one.
As molten lava flows out of the mountain, it can dig these underground canals, or in some cases develops a solid crust as it flows, whilst remaining liquid inside.
When the magma reaches a too high temperature, don't fall over, but try to move back to the underground. So melt and move down. It's one of the most dangerous activities you can have.
This one goes under the road and stretches over a kilometre.
Like we're going further into the tunnel.
Under the road.
Yes. But you're going to need your light on.
See, especially on this side, especially with the
And
car
the
that
layers,
move, there are
yeah.
different layers that are falling.
Yes.
So also this time,
cracked.
in time, will disappear.
Oh.
Probably there were a lot more than the 250 discovered, but in time disappear. Maybe
Yes.
there are a lot more also still unknown.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fascinating.
Before we return home, Gianpaolo shows us where in 1992 a gigantic 6-month lava flow reached the town of Zafferana. Helped by some expert intervention, miraculously the lava stopped and the town was spared. Nearly 30 years on, the slopes have grown over and the scene is one of peace and not disaster. Dave and I are delivered back to Taormina, and we've come to the end of our grand tour of southern Italy. Tomorrow we leave for Catania Airport and make our journey home.
Well, that's the end of our Footloose journey. Scenery is beautiful. I've learned an awful lot, but the driving was pretty hard.
It was, yeah. But we've stayed in some really interesting places.